Good morning, basketball fans, and welcome to another edition of Sports Talk with Rags here in Season 3, Episode 51. And today we are honored here to have the Norfolk State men's basketball coach, Robert Jones, with us. Coach Jones, how you doing this morning?
Yeah, how you doing, Rags? Everything good?
Hey, I'm doing great, and hey, let's talk about here the beginning here with basketball. Even before you came to be a Norfolk State assistant, so just talk about here with you in the game of basketball as you were growing up and into high school and college.
I just started playing basketball right away. It
Yeah.
wasn't really like the first love, I guess you could say. I played baseball at the beginning of my life, all the way to probably about 12 years old. My father was really into baseball,
Mm-hmm.
so I was a big Mets fan, like Dwight Gooden,
Yeah.
people like that, Darryl Strawberry. So when they had a pretty good run as the Mets, I was a real big fan of theirs. I went to way more baseball games than I went to basketball games growing up. So probably around 12 years old, I started getting a little taller, and I tried out for my elementary school basketball team, which I didn't think was going to be like that big of a deal, to make the basketball team.
Right.
But then I tried out, and like one of the biggest things during that try was like a layup line, and like I couldn't like figure out how to make a layup, which was like crazy to me I think about it now. So I didn't get I didn't make the team. I got cut actually. So it kind of fueled my fire because a lot of the teammates a lot of friends I should say became part of the team, and I wasn't part of the team, so it was actually really embarrassing, honestly. So I said that from that day forward, I will never let that happen to me again. And I never got cut from a basketball team again in my life. So I just worked like tirelessly, um, all the time on basketball, every day, every hour I could. I worked on it, and I got better at it. And then I went to junior high school, and I made the team there, and went to high school at Brooklyn Tech.
Yeah.
Played. I made the team as a sophomore there, varsity team. That was about actually because in New York City, you could go to junior high school 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. So you didn't have to go to high school to 10th grade. So
Okay.
that was my first year in high school. I made the varsity team. I was actually the first sophomore to make the varsity team like in 12 years, I think they said it was. So because the coach was really like a stickler on juniors and seniors, which some coaches still are, which I don't understand. Like if you could play, you could play.
Right.
But some coaches are still sticklers on juniors and seniors. So I went there. And then I did okay there. And then I went to SUNY New Paltz College, and it actually was Division III college. And I probably shouldn't have been playing there because I didn't really get recruited the way I probably should have got recruited coming from Brooklyn Tech. And I ended up going there, and I made Division III All-American my junior year, and I had a really good career, and then recently got inducted to the Hall of Fame there. So it was good times.
Yes, and then during college, one of the assistants was Anthony Evans, who then brought you to Norfolk State.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was Anthony Evans. The thing with Coach Evans was that he always said, Coach Evans in college, he worked with me closely. He was like my position coach,
Okay.
and he was only there for 2 years though. He went and took the assistant coach job not assistant coach, the head coach job at Ulster Community College, which was like still close to us. But he actually was the one that told me that there's no reason why I shouldn't be an All American. Like when he left. So he left, and when I made All American the next year, it was like. Um, just like a kudos to him with that. And then once he got into Division I coaching, he kind of said that if he would make it to head coach Division I level, which is really hard to do, is I tell people all the time is that it's like winning the lottery for coaches because there's only 365 of us in the world, and out of all the guys that coach, my son plays basketball, and you could go to one of these AAU tournaments, and there's 100 coaches there, and there's 100 coaches everywhere. So, there's high school coaches and there's millions of guys who coach basketball to only have 365 coaches. I mean, it's the next closest thing to being in the NBA,
Right.
as far as like Division One. So once he got the job, he called me. I was coaching at St. Mary's High School then at that point, and I came down on a visit, and I said, "Hey, this is not bad, and I'll join the staff." So I joined the staff, and the rest is history.
Yes, and so when you were done with college, what just your interest for getting for building a coaching resume started, or did you give playing overseas a shot before you got into coaching?
Yeah, I had a contract to play in the fifth division in France,
Okay.
and I explored that for a second, but like the money wasn't right. Living in another country, and I had to teach English, and I'm not a teacher by any means. I'm a teacher in basketball, but I'm not teaching English. You know, so that just wasn't going to work out really too well. So I just bet on myself. I just said that the money that they was offering back then, it was $1,800 a month to do both duties. There's offer, apartment, which they call a flat over there, a flat and a car and stuff, and that's what they offered. And I just felt like I could have eventually make more staying in the states. I wasn't never caught up on like I even tell some of my players. Some of my players are so caught up on, and players across the world are so caught up on being a professional basketball player that they'll go and work for $500 a month, it's $4,000 a month just to say I'm a professional basketball player. And it's like once you get older, man, it's about do you have enough means to take care of your family, take care of yourself first, take care of your family and things like that. I mean, with some of those paid, that people are getting overseas, you could barely take care of yourself. So if you have a family and everything like that, it's not going to really work out. So I was always been on trying to figure out the best possible job to be able to get myself out of dire straits that I was in growing up.
Yes, and with coming to be part of Coach Evans' staff there at Norfolk State in 2007, I mean, you have definitely seen the Norfolk State basketball program, where it was in 2011, and then when you became interim coach in 13, and then February 2014 when they took the interim tag off and became permanent head coach there for Norfolk State. You've definitely seen Spartans basketball improve.
Yeah, I mean, when I first got there with Coach Evans, being like in the middle of the pack was okay.
Yeah.
Being like maybe knocking on the door of like one of those first four spots in the league. Back to those 13 teams in the league, so one of those first four spots in the league was like really like a real big deal. Even like when we got to the semifinals of the conference tournament my first year, that was like a big deal. And now it's like the way the trajectory is like if you're not winning a regular season championship or winning the tournament championship, for some people might look at it as like a failure. Like for us internally, we might not look at it totally because we know how hard it is to win a championship. I mean,
Right.
you can't win them every year. It's just impossible to win every year. They always say, usually if you've got a good program, you can win one like every 5 years. You can win one. If you got like a consistent program, and I think a lot of people in sports don't understand that. That they think that you're going to win every year. And it's like you're not going to win every year. There's other teams just trying to win too. And you need some luck. You need to bounce with the ball. Some years you're not going to have the best team. It's just going to be, and some years somebody else is going to have the best team, and that's just what it is, And you got to understand that. But now the way the program is, like I said, the trajectory is like now it's just not good enough to be like 500 in league play, or 500 overall, because that was a big deal too. Like getting to 500 overall when I first got there because of the amount of guaranteed games and things like that we play. It was hard for teams in the past to even get to 500. Now since I've been head coach, I finished my 10th year this year. We
Yeah.
only had one season under 500 overall. So it's like we've totally flipped that narrative too, and that's a credit to all the coaches and players that have been with me for these 10 years. So like I said, there's way more pressure at Norfolk State now,
Yeah.
but I think I would take that situation over the situation of us not expected to achieve anything. Like I rather the pressure, because that means you actually doing something good. Than like now, if you win a championship, it's like everyone's shocked that you win a championship. Because like I'll take it the other way. I'll take it the way it is now.
Yeah, and I would definitely want to highlight the 2011-2012 season. The team was 26-10, got a 15th seed, and playing the number 2 seed Missouri there in the opening round. And behold, the green and gold Norfolk State takes down Missouri, and great win for the program and Carl O'Quinn. Awesome run there with his Spartan career.
Yeah. Well, first thing is, I'm not, he'll get mad if you say his name is Kyle O'Quinn, not Carl. So Kyle O'Quinn.
Kyle O'Quinn. Sorry
but
about that.
Yeah, that game changed the trajectory of the program too. Because after that game, it was no longer having to go in the living rooms and explain who you are. Explain, well, we're Norfolk State, we're 15 minutes from Virginia Beach, we're located in the southeastern part of Virginia, stuff like that. After that game, people knew the name Norfolk State. Now you might still have to say we're 15 minutes away from Virginia Beach, but it's like it was no. Before it was like sometimes you call a kid, because I was the recruiting coordinator, and you say, "Hey, I'm Coach Jones from Norfolk State University," and blah 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 blah, give me a spiel, and they're like, "What? Who? What school?" And that totally changed after that game. And Kyle, and then him making the NBA helped as well, because now kids saw that the old adage that they say you can go anywhere and they'll find you. And a lot of people think that's like nonsense, but it really showed with Kyle O'Quinn that you can go anywhere, and if you happen to be good enough, the people are going to find that you have to be good enough. That's the other kicker. You have to be good enough, but he was good enough. He just played at Norfolk State, and he went and played 8 years in the NBA, and now he's finishing his career over in Japan. Finished up on his last few years of his basketball life over there. But then the next year, we went undefeated in conference play.
Right.
I went to the NIT, and so it was like I said, it was a big carryover from the year before. Unfortunately, we got upset in the first round of the MEAC tournament, which was like devastating after going undefeated. But they always say it's kind of hard to go undefeated the whole way. So maybe we set ourselves up for that. I don't know. But we thought it was going to go a little further than the first round. We thought it was going to at least go to the championship or something. And then whatever happens. And then, from there, we've had a lot of other, good moments throughout the basketball the last 10 years. So, but just to double back, that 11-12 season kind of catapulted everything.
Yes, and Kyle, with his career, ended up getting his number retired there by Norfolk State, and being the third men's basketball number to be retired.
Yeah, it was. And he deserved obviously every bit of that retirement. He did some amazing things not only for Norfolk State on the basketball court, but then he also became one of our biggest sponsors or donors when he was in the NBA. And he's just a tremendous help to the basketball program. So, he deserved it. It was all the way around. And then of course, he stayed 8 years in the NBA, which is hard to do for anybody. I don't care if you come from Norfolk State or Kentucky. It's hard to stay 8 years in the NBA. And he never went to the G League or anything. Like, he never got one of those guys that was like a two-way guy or anything like that. He never went to the G League or overseas until now. He actually played 8 straight years in the NBA roster. So that's an amazing feat in itself.
Yes, and like to bring up here on the heels of the Norfolk Sports Club Jamboree last night. I mean, since you've been head coach, you won a President's Award there from the Norfolk Sports Club there in 2018-2019 season. But how about being a presenter last night there to one of your players who, being a Lake Taylor alum, ended up staying in the area, and Joe Bryant Jr. had a great high school career and definitely had a great career there at Norfolk State and got honored by the Norfolk Sports Club.
Yeah, I mean, it was like I told him last night during my little couple minute speech. It was weird in a sense because I'm usually on the other end of it. Like I usually, get the award. That was the first time I ever gave somebody an award in my life. So it wasn't hard to talk about Joe because I mean I've been around Joe for 5 years, so it wasn't like it was like a hard thing to do, But it was just different, talking about him and all his accomplishments. And like I told him, he's running out of space for all these awards. I mean, he's gotten every award, possible. From the Player of the Year stuff to first team all conference to this kind of stuff with the Norfolk Sports Club to the NABC All Star Game MVP and
Yeah.
I mean, and then there's a whole bunch that I'm missing too. You got national. I think HBCU National Player of the Year 2 years in a row. You got this, you got that. So it's like this year it was like a banner, banner year. Like last 2 years, I guess for him was like banner years that every college basketball player I think who plays would like to check over those boxes. Because you check them more from an individual standpoint, and he checked it off from a championship standpoint. And playing the NCAA tournament 2 years and things like that. So he did a lot to check a lot of boxes for his career. So once he signs a professional contract, because he will play somewhere in the world. I'm not sure it's going to be the NBA right away, but maybe the G League or overseas. But he will be a professional basketball player. So that will be like the final cap on his career.
Yes, and to piggyback on what we were just talking about, I mean, when y'all's season was done, I mean, being invited to play in that All-Star game there, Final Four weekend, and being a co-MVP, and then being invited here to participate right here in his hometown, with the PIT, that was about a week and a half after that.
Yeah, and it was actually, like a fight to get into the PIT a little bit, which we didn't understand why it was like that. His resume was probably as good as any senior resume in the country.
Right.
We didn't understand why we had to go through so many links to get him into the PIT, especially after he just won the NABC. And so if there was any doubt, he just showed, okay, I guess supposedly the best seniors in the country, he just got MVP. But if there was any doubt, and then like 10 or 12 of those guys from that game got into the PIT earlier before Joe did. So it was a little baffling, but either way, he got in,
Right.
and he had a couple good games. He had a couple of good games that he probably wish he could get back a little bit, and could have played a little better. But he had the first game right out of the gate, I think he had like 13 and 7 assists, something like that. So he showed that he could compete at that high level, which then got him that NBA G League combine invite because he showed that he could compete at the level of that stuff. So like I said, we'll see. I'm almost positive, and I would say this, and I know for me, and I know I'm speaking for him. He's not looking to get his name called on what is it? I think Thursday, right? The draft, I think, right?
Right.
Yeah. He's not going to get his name called on Thursday, but he's hoping that after the draft, maybe somebody will call him for NBA Summer League, and now you can go and live, try to figure out your dream through that way. Everybody's path is different,
Right.
And I know he has some friends that like Keontae Johnson might get, like they're friends, and he might get his name called. But you can't keep score with people. Comparison is death of joy. So it's like if you able, to just run your own race, then the end is usually good.
Yeah. Yes, and and how about with Norfolk State's basketball program being part of the MEAC and having the conference tournament, just cross town here the last few years. That's definitely nice to not travel there for a conference tournament.
It's a gift and a curse a little bit because it's a gift that you don't have to travel. You can kind of still see your family and hang out with your family and things like that in between trying to prepare for these games. But it's also a curse, I think, too, because usually there's a day in between the games. So you don't want to necessarily keep the guys in the hotel room. So, you let them come watch the girls play. Usually our women's team is pretty good now. Recently, we watch the women play. We watch maybe our opponent for the Friday night. Stuff like that. But then as the guys are walking around the arena, and even like myself walking around the arena, everyone is like, you guys going to bring it home, right, coach? You guys going to bring it home? You guys going to bring it home, Joe? So it's like you really kind of got added pressure by being in the scope. A lot of people think it's like a home court advantage, but I tell you, we might have a couple more fans than some of the other teams when we play the scope, but that's not Eccles Hall. So like we're playing in the scope for the first time, just like everybody else is playing in the scope for the first time. So that ball is not dropping for us, just like it's not dropping for them. So it's not like a huge advantage. People think like it's a home court, like it's not like a home court by any means, but there's a lot of pressure, playing in that scope. I mean, everybody's playing for that one dream against NCAA tournament. Everybody sees the March Madness commercial, and that's the dream that you're trying to play for, and things like that. So, it's tough. It's tough. So, I think the scope. I think it's maybe another 3-year contract, maybe 3 more years there. So we'll see what happens. Now, one thing I will say about the scope though is that the attendance has grown though.
Right.
When we won in 11-12, we won in Winston-Salem, and it was hardly nobody there like to see us win. So I will say the attendance has grown in the scope. And I think that's why the MEAC is keeping it there. Like it really has nothing to do with us. Yeah, try to, everything's a business. And why move your business model that's working?
Right.
Yeah.
And Coach Jones, appreciate your time. I see that you have summer camps here. So I'm sure between summer camps and recruiting and watching your son play, you definitely have a busy summer.
Yeah. A lot of schedule is in my schedule. A lot of schedule is my son's schedule. I told him, I can't wait till he's able to drive, which would be probably a little less than a year from now he'll be able to get his license. So I'm counting down those days because I'm tired of being this Uber driver. It takes a lot of time in my schedule. But he has summer camp for us coming up. We have day camp next week. Then we got a couple more team camps. One more team camp. We got a couple of individual camps in August. But also our guys get back on campus this weekend. So we'll get a chance to start back working with summer workouts. I'm excited about this group. It's a new group, so it's like a refreshing group. I think a lot of people last year they saw us with so many returnees and so much continuity, which is a good thing. We won 22 games, which is good. But I think it also was like a bad thing because some of it wasn't as exciting to the players as it should be when you're new. Because you got to think about last year's team. I mean, pretty much everybody had already won a championship, and some guys had already won multiple championships already. So I think they were taking the grind a little bit for granted, because and then some guys like Joe and some other, and granted Joe wasn't a problem, but other guys they've been there 5 years. Like the 5th year of basketball sounds sexy, but I think that 4 years is enough, to like get one voice, like for me and and for me to be around. I mean, honestly, I think 4 years, like the 5th year now is like, you kind of was being redundant. And I'm not saying that things was going in one year after the other. I'm not saying that at all. But I do think at times it was like, okay, I know how to do this drill. I've been doing this drill for 5 years already, so, but now we get like, I think we got 9 new guys. So this is going to be like a fresh start. And it's going to be, probably a refresher for me as a coach to try to like really now get in there and teach and grind and try to really mold this team. So I'm excited about the guys coming back this weekend.
Yeah, well, that's good, Coach Jones. The military brought my family to the Norfolk area in '87, so I know with Norfolk State being first CIAA and then moving on to MEAC, and definitely seeing the basketball program both on the men and the women's side grow and be successful. It's definitely great to see, and appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and talking about being the leader of men's Spartan basketball.
Thanks for having me on, Rags. And like you said, with the women's program, shout out to Coach Vickers, with head coach over there. Women's basketball, they had a great year this year. They when they played tough draw in the NCAA tournament with South Carolina, but they went out and played. Honestly, they probably played a lot better than what people thought they were going to play, and were a lot better than what some teams across the country played. So shout out to Coach Vickers. Coach Vickers actually used to be my assistant coach, so that's also a unique story too, with him going over to the other side. So good luck to those guys, and we look forward to getting back to the NCAA tournament ourselves. this year. Like I said, we're excited about our group, and thanks for having me on.
Sure, no problem. And I know Coach Staley gave the Lady Spartans shout out there with this past season's tournament.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, yep. Kudos to Don Staley.
Yep. All right, Coach Jones. Hey, thanks again, and have a great summer.
All right, man. Thanks.
All right. See ya. So that's Coach Jones here on today's podcast.